Jamal Al Kishi, you have been a banker for quite a while, but first you worked for a Saudi bank, and now you work for Deutsche Bank as in Saudi Arabia. What was that transition like?
It's a big transition coming from a local bank with a focus on a single market, in the case of Arab National Bank, and moving into Deutsche Bank, which is a global player operating across the world and doing things that run the gamut from retail banking all the way to high-end investment banking, private wealth management, asset management, brokerage, and everything in between. It was a big transition, not to mention, of course, the geographic nature of what Deutsche Bank does as opposed to Arab National Bank.
Well, you're the managing director and the CEO. How much of your work is involved with Saudi Arabia directly, and how much with the global aspect?
My focus is on Saudi Arabia. It occupies the bulk of my time. My involvement outside Saudi Arabia is typically connected with a Saudi-based client or a Saudi-associated transaction. But Saudi is the focus that I have within Deutsche Bank.
Everyone speaks, in talking about your country, they speak about the very large number of young people, the prospects for development, of course, the natural wealth. Do you see your country kind of, it's already doing fantastically well, but as in many other countries, perhaps the wealth is focused a little bit in some areas and not widespread in the country. I mean, is that fair to say? And do you see that changing anyway?
I don't think that the premise of the question is actually very valid. I don't think that there was a concerted, tangible effort to establish pockets of wealth in the country and isolate segments of the population from access to wealth. Quite the opposite. The government's policy in Saudi Arabia has been pushing so hard in the direction of distributing wealth, in privatization of government assets, in establishing new industrial projects, and in the flotation and sale of some previously owned, government-owned assets. Strong preference has been given to allow small investors from the populace of Saudi Arabia to come in and invest. Let me give you an example. One of the most lucrative areas of investment in Saudi Arabia is in petrochemicals. Why? Because petrochemical producers based in Saudi have access to highly competitively priced feedstocks, natural gas. So investments in such an area is very promising because you sell in a world where feedstock, the bulk of the costs associated with producing petrochemicals is priced at a level 5 or 6 times what the Saudi-based investors produce at. The government has enacted a law now that for any company to be allocated gas, natural gas, to be used for petrochemical projects, they have to have public ownership to the extent of at least 30%. And that ownership ought to be done in a way we call it par. And so at par, meaning that there is no premium to the project sponsors in passing on the economic benefits of this to the Saudi public. That's an example of what the Saudi government is doing to make sure that A, we cultivate an ownership society, and B, that wealth is actually spread to the masses, the natural wealth of the country. The same thing was done In the case of telecoms, when the Saudi government privatized the national telecom company, Saudi Telecom, STC, and it has been pursued in every single transaction that the government has brought to market or has allowed to be brought to market. They want to make sure that the Saudi public has access at a very, very reasonable level to wealth creating opportunities in the country that are associated in some fashion with natural resources or with the national wealth of the nation.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate the clarification. Are you seeing then among clients, say for retail banking at your bank, you're seeing the effects of some of this government policy?
Let me clarify one thing on this. Deutsche Bank is not doing retail banking in the region here, but we do observe the wealth effect on the Saudi population indirectly through our transactions. What happened over the last few years through the measures taken by the government is that there has been a lot of wealth created in the stock market. Obviously, anytime you create wealth in equities, that wealth is subject to the risk of the ups and downs of the market. Some have lost a lot of money in the process. Some have made